Next, we've got another Beatles album, The Magical Mystery Tour. Awesome album. Don't know if this is an original or not. John can look at something in 2 seconds and tell you if it's an original or not. But, ooh, this one has the cool little booklet on the inside and the gatefold with all the pictures and whatnot. It's kind of sliding out though, so I'm trying to be careful. Yeah, this is a good record in my opinion. I am a Beatles fan. It kind of, the Beatles along with some other groups were kind of my entree into the world of garage rock in a way, and the world of 60s music in general. I'm not one of those folks who think that the Beatles can do no wrong. I'm not even that way with my very favorite band, which is the Kinks. I think that I'm not going to like every single thing that my favorite bands put out. I'm just not one of those people. For one reason or another, I mean, I can appreciate everything and respect it, but I'm just not one of those people that are like, you know, every single word that comes out of Paul McCartney's mouth, just, you know, it isn't gospel. So, but that being said, still really love the Beatles. I mean, there's some great songs on this album that, I mean, are just Fool on the Hill. I mean, what a beautiful song. I'm the Walrus, of course. Of course, Blue Jay Way. They're all really, really timeless songs that, you know, you never get tired of them. Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man. I mean, come on, this is up there. This is an excellent record. And I'm sure John will let us know if this is an original copy or not. But yeah. Magical Mystery Tour. Fun to watch too if you have never had a chance to actually watch the movie. Do yourself a favor and just enjoy it for what it is. I think it's hilarious and just fun to look at.
Beatles Magical Mystery Tour. Who doesn't know it? Now, not get excited. It's not a monocopy, although we had several monocopies at Izzy's. So I can never really get excited about it. Everybody's like, oh, it's so... It used to happen a lot at Izzy's. Oh, you'll never find this record. And we're so jaded. Like, oh, I got 6 or 7 of them over there. I got this for free when a friend of mine from back in the early 90s, Don Organ, his mother met some guy she was dating and moved to Old Bridge, New Jersey, and took Don with her, of course. And the house they moved into, the guy had previous children, and there was a box of records in the basement. Maybe Don was not supposed to give them to me, but he did. And this was in there. So I said, okay. I took it. I did own this on vinyl when I was in high school in a purple label reissue around in 10th grade, 1985, 86. But this is an original stereo. Whoop. With the booklet, which of course has come unattached on me. It's falling apart. But why do I have it? I don't know. I just keep it. It's there. It's kind of fun. Like, you know, we'll talk about this like in our introductory video about why own the original thing sometimes. I mean, it's a bit superfluous to have multiple copies of things sometimes. But yeah, this is an original, old, stinky, musty smelling inner sleeve. Anyway, Beatles Magical Mystery Tour. I got it for nothing, so why the hell not?
All right, now we've got the Beatles rarities. Probably considered rarities at the time, I guess. I mean, in the digital age that we're in now, you can, not a whole lot of things are considered to be rare, but maybe of the time that this was released. I mean, this was in 1980. It says here on the bottom. Maybe these were considered to be rare, and maybe some of them still are. I don't know. I'm not a Beatles expert, but on the back here, it's got a lot of commentary about the songs. Songs like Love Me Do, Misery, There's a Place, You Know My Name, Look Up the Number. That, it's always a fun one. A little gatefold, which has a picture of the Butcher album. Some other Beatles pictures from their career. And an inner sleeve with more Beatles photos. Kind of cool. Pictures. on Capitol. Oh, I see a receipt down here, and it's buried in. All right, so he bought this on June 16th, 1987. It looks like Sound something. And he bought a couple other things for a total of $12.17. June 6, 1987.
The Beatles rarities from this originally came out in 1980 and was a big deal when it came out in 1980 because it contains all these rare single tracks and mono versions. I bought this the summer between 11th and 12th grades. As you can see, I found the receipt buried in there. Soundorama, Downtown Rahway, June 16th, 1987. School must have just ended, and I ran down and bought this. That was the summer I started buying more Beatles records. I mean, had some before. Still a great comp. It might be superfluous to have now because a lot of these things are available on the deluxe editions, anthology, but at the time, it was the best game in town. Originally, it was put together at Capitol, and they were going to use the butcher cover because when you open it up here, that was the original idea for the Rarities album. And then they were going to have an inner sleeve full of memorabilia, but it didn't happen. I always like it because this photo on the front, it's glossy right there. And then like a silk version, right? You know, I should know these terms because I work in printing now, the type of paper to use. But hang on to it for sentimental reasons and just never got rid of it. But Beatles Rarities 1980, I bought it in 87. Still a great record to have.
And of course, the classic Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, purchased at Princeton Record Exchange for $7.99. Says that it's a mono. Don't know if it's an original or not. Classic album with the beautiful gatefold photo of them in their Sgt. Pepper suits. This is I mean, what can you really say about Sgt. Pepper? I mean, it has cutouts. But again, I think it might be a reissue. I don't know if it's an original. John will let us know. What else can I say about the Beatles? I mean, there's a million people out there talking about the Beatles, I'm sure, and they have much more interesting things to say than me. But favorite Beatle, gotta be George for me, hands down. Love George. He just seems to have the driest sense of humor, which I really appreciate. And he was involved with Monty Python and those guys, and read Eric Idle's autobiography, and he talks a lot about his close friendship with George, and that's really nice. So if you have a chance to read that one, I recommend that book too. But we're here about the Beatles, and of course, love this album. Favorite tracks would probably be, I really love the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band reprise. That's total favorite. Lovely Rita is another favorite. Day in the Life, Good Morning, Good Morning. Yeah, definitely an all-time classic.
Here we have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, Beatles, 1967. This is a mono copy. Everybody used to go bananas for a mono copy. So rare, right there. $7.99, Princeton Record Exchange. Granted, it's not in the greatest of shape. Vinyl's a little rough. I think it may even skip in spots. But $7.99 mono, why the hell not? Actually, for some reason, it has the inner sleeve from the Stones' Satanic Majesties, but it still has its original inserts. People go nuts for mono versions. So I saw it in the rack at Princeton Record Exchange, I think in the new arrival. Why not, man? Because at the time, the mono version was not available on CD anywhere, so I grabbed it. Nice little addition to the collection. You don't really play it much, but just there to, hey, look what I got. Beatles, Sgt. Pepper, monophonic.
Okay, up next, we've got the Beatles and 5 Nights in a Judo Arena. So it's the Beatles on stage in Japan. Just pick picture on the back there of the back side of the stage with Ringo and I think that's Paul. Yep, Paul.
Here we have a very old Beatles bootleg, 5 Nights in a Judo Arena, live recording of one of their Japanese tour shows from 1966. I got this at a store that was on Cherry Street in Rahway for a short time, called Little Joe Records. It was where I first bought a lot of my vinyl bootlegs. He dealt with them a lot. Nice guy. I used to go in there and talk to him a lot. The original receipt's still in here. I bought this June 26, 1988, so I was just out of high school. I think I only paid a few bucks for this. It actually sounds pretty good for a Beatles live show bootleg. I must have been taken from the television. I know they broadcast concerts on Japanese television. Not much more you can say about it. It's your typical Beatles concert. Screaming. You probably couldn't hear each other play, but had it for a long time. It's still in here. It'll stay in here. Beatles on stage in Japan. Yeah, Little Joe Records on Cherry Street in Rahway was there for a while. Then out of nowhere, one day I went, he was gone. Never knew he was leaving. Anyway, early Beatles bootleg.
All right, not a record by the Beatles, but a record involving the Beatles. This is Beatles songs. The best of the Beatles novelty records. So it's got people who kind of capitalized or tried to capitalize on the Beatles fame by doing Beatle kind of songs or Beatle parodies or Beatle tribute songs. So this is a Rhino record release from 1982. And I know that this is, there's a story behind it. I'm sure John will tell it more accurately than I, but I know it has to do with this being pulled or the cover being changed because they actually have a little caricature here of Mark David Chapman and probably thought that was in poor taste. But there is Beatles songs, an original. Has Casey Kasem, Letter from Elena, Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, Alan Sherman. So yeah.
Here we have Beatles songs, a compilation on Rhino Records from 1982 of various Beatles novelties. Now, this is the one, there's a story behind this. This cover was, I think, the original cover, and then it was withdrawn, but there's a lot of copies out there, so it's not exactly rare. Why was it withdrawn? Right there in the illustration, they put Mark David Chapman. Maybe not in good taste. I don't know what the other cover looks like. A friend of ours I know has copies. He saw several sealed copies at a record show, or maybe several sealed copies of this version. But cool comp, a lot of interesting songs. I mainly bought it for the Peter Cook and Dudley Moore track LS Bumblebee, which used to show up on Beatles bootlegs claiming to be a Sgt. Pepper outtake, but it's not. Also, other interesting things on here. It has Casey Kasem with his Letter from Elena. Jack Nietzsche doing Beatlemania, which incorporates a lot of Beatles melodies and themes. Donna Lynn, My Boyfriend Got a Beatle Haircut. A lot of stuff that was on Capitol. The Ruddles are on here. Alan Sherman's Pop Hates the Beatles. Of course, being Rhino Records, Wild Man Fisher's on here. The stupidest track, I think, is this thing by the Quarrymen, Kwory Men, a Beatle rap. They rap in Liverpudlian accents, and it's kind of corny. And of course has that hit, but very annoying hit, We Love You Beatles by the Carefrees. Anyway, Beatles songs, 1982, Rhino Records, Beatles novelties.
Right, now we're moving from the Beatles now to Jeff Beck. This is Beck Ola. With, I like on the back, it has vocals by the extraordinaire Rod Stewart. So this is a Jeff Beck group, essentially. And if you want to hear Rod Stewart at some of his best, I mean, he's pretty extraordinary on this record. Pick this one up. Probably an original, I would think. Jeff Beck, of course, known for the Yardbirds and just being a famous guitarist of his own right. But here he is with his group doing his album Beck Ola.
Here we have the Jeff Beck Group from 1969, Beck Ola, the second and final album from the original Jeff Beck Group. Purchased this in the 10th grade. It's not an original. This is the one on, it was still in print at the time on the grayish black Epic label. I have this on CD and also on the most tracks on the Beckology box. So why do I keep it? I bought this in 10th grade, and 10th grade was not a great time for me. And so, like my friend employer Izzy used to say, you never get rid of your first records, because your records were your friends when you had no friends. So I kind of hang on to this for sentimental reasons. I will occasionally plop this on the turntable and play it. Like I said, this is your second album. Not as strong as the previous one, Truth, because again, like I said about the Animals in the previous video, they never really developed strong songwriter. And Mickey Most was trying to break into the album market, but he was more a singles guy, so he really didn't know quite what to do. Things came to a head with him. They were supposed to play Woodstock on this tour for this album, but they broke up before they could make it to Woodstock, because Jeff Beck was just getting unhappy and feeling out of place in his own band, and Rod Stewart and Ronnie Wood were, he says, like, we're giggling like schoolgirls, and we're about to join up with the remainder of the Small Faces. Still a pretty cool, heavy album. Favorite songs, Spanish Boots I like, because it has a bass solo from Ronnie Wood in there that's really good. And Rice Pudding I really like. It's a almost 8-minute instrumental jam. I remember, I will watch much later in videos by the time we get to the L's, I have this one Led Zeppelin bootleg from Montreux 71 where before they do Heartbreaker, Jimmy Page plays this riff, and I owned that bootleg before this record. I was like, man, what is that riff? It's like a Pagey riff he never used. But then I got this, and it's like, oh, he's playing Rice Pudding. But a Jeff Beck group, Beckola, 1969, heavy.
So we follow up that one with Jeff Beck's Truth album. This is probably the first Jeff Beck group record I ever heard. The amazing, again, vocals of Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart at probably some of his best, doing Shapes of Things. Just a really awesome album because it's got, you know, the incredible guitar playing and the incredible vocals of Rod Stewart.
Here we have Jeff Beck, his debut album from '68, Truth, also on Epic Records. Again, sorry, not an original. Again, like I showed you with Beckola, it's on that black grayish Epic label. I got this one in the 9th grade, and I hang on to it because, like I said about the Beckola, 9th grade was worse than 10th grade, and my music and records helped me get through it. I played this record a hell of a lot, and first album after having some solo hit singles and right after leaving the Yardbirds. And at the time, you know, hideelee says I still do it. I have my head up my ass about Led Zeppelin, me and my friend Rob Brannigan. Like, Led Zeppelin is my jilted lover. Like, I'm afraid to admit I really love him or something. But I always wanted to look for more heavy British blues stuff. And back in 1985, you know, I just had radio to deal with. And then I got some books, British invasion stuff. And I read about this record. And I read Hammer to Gods, the Led Zeppelin biography by Stephen Davis. And they mentioned this record a lot as being the template for Led Zeppelin. And what is cool, what interesting, you know, Jeff Beck says that when Jimmy put together Zeppelin and played him the first tapes, and he was all like, listen to my band, listen to this guy John Bonham I got, listen to us doing You Shook Me. And Beck does You Shook Me on here. And Jeff said he was really mad and upset at Pagey, and like the tears were coming out with anger. It's like, you know, you're ripping me off, you're my best friend. And it makes me wonder, because John Paul Jones is on this record playing Hammond organ on Old Man River, and he may play on You Shook Me, which makes me wonder, did John Paul Jones bring that to the Zeppelin sessions for the first album? Also, this is great because it has Beck's Bolero, which was a B-side for Jeff before the album, and it was recorded in late '66. At the time with the Yardbirds, Simon Napier Bell, their manager, wanted to make solo singles from each Yardbird, and of course they did Beck's Bolero with Jeff, but then he left the band. But it was like a super group. Jeff on guitar, Jimmy Page on 12-string, John Paul Jones on bass, Nicky Hopkins on piano, and Keith Moon on drums. And the session went so well, even though Moon was a maniac, and as soon as he made his intro, he cracked the head off one of the microphones, so all you ever hear afterwards is just his cymbals. But it went so well that they talked about, hey, we should really form a band. And Moon laughed and said, yeah, it'll go down like a Led Zeppelin. And they were like serious about it. They said, let's get a vocalist. We'll ask Stevie Winwood or Steve Marriott. And they don't remember whose manager came back to him and said, if you don't leave Stevie alone, you might be playing guitars with 10 broken fingers. So it fell apart. But this is the start of like, heavy 70s blues rock. Great record. I Ain't Superstitious is great. Mickey Waller's that's a great kind of sloppy drummer. Even though I'm not a musician, I can't tell what's sloppy and bad too many times. But anyway, a very important record in my life, so I hang on to it even though I got it on CD. Jeff Beck, Truth, 1968.
Chuck Berry, Back Home. It's definitely not the 50s Chuck Berry that I'm familiar with. Looks like it's got later tracks. It's from 1970, of course, on Chess Records. Chuck Berry, Back Home.
Chuck Berry, Back Home on Chess Records from, I believe, 1969 or maybe 70. His first record back on Chess after his brief tenure on Mercury. Got this at Tommy's store, of course, probably for a bargain. This one, again, haven't played it since I owned it. Probably the most well-known song on here is the single Tulane, which has been covered by multiple people, including the Steve Gibbons Band. And I don't know why I'm thinking of Joan Jett having done Tulane. I don't know. Chess was distributed by GRT at the time. Not much to show you about it, but anyway, Chuck Berry, Back Home. I think this is due for an audition respin soon.
Chuck Berry again, and this time it is a compilation of more rock and roll rarities from the golden years of Chess Records. And this is mostly demos on the back. If you look at the track listing there. Track listings of songs we probably have all heard down through the course of our life. If you ever listen to oldies radio, like Rock and Roll Music, Sweet Little Rock and Roller, Sweet Little 16. Chess Records release. I like that label. It's kind of fun. Yeah, the artwork on this kind of screams 80s to me, but I haven't listened to this before, so I'm sure the demos are pretty fun to listen to. So it was released in 1986, so that explains the kind of lettering and things of the cover.
Chuck Berry, more rock and roll rarities on Chess MCA from 1986. A collection of outtakes and alternate takes. I actually think I bought this from my dad for some reason for a birthday or something, and he was kind of like, my dad liked Chuck Berry and 50s rock and roll. That was his era, but he was kind of like, I don't know. You're a young kid, when you're first left to your own devices to buy your parents presents, you kind of make weird decisions. But I don't know, somehow it migrated into my collection. Pretty good comp. I don't recall where I got this. I probably maybe Soundorama downtown. But it's got stereo remixes of some songs, the original demo of Rock and Roll Music. So I think there's some studio chat on here, which is interesting. Oh, the stereo remix of My Mustang Ford, and a different stereo remix re-recording of Johnny B. Good from July 1961 with Martha Berry. I guess that was his wife. Anyway, an interesting comp of alternate takes. Chuck Berry, more rock and roll rarities, Chess.
Our last record in this set is the Big Three, Cavern Stomp. Don't know anything about this one. I always thought the Big Three was a group with Cass Elliot from the Mamas and the Papas, but it was just have some kind of memory like that. But Big Three, three guys, of course, on the back. Some pictures of romping fun with the Big Three. They do Some Other Guy, the Beatles song, Zippity Doo-Dah. But it has a release on Edsel and includes some cool little flyers and stuff, probably the story of the Big Three. Which is kind of nice because you get kind of a history lesson about the band when you buy from places like Edsel or companies like Edsel, who, you know, really cares about preserving these bands and their history.
The Big Three, a compilation with Cavern Stomp, the great compilation on Edsel, who compiled a lot of these obscure British bands. The Big Three were contemporaries of the Beatles. They kind of looked up to them. They were the original power trio. No records released in America, just in England, including an EP recorded live at the Cavern, which is on here. I got this. There was a store in Westfield for a while called the Music Staff on Quimby Street in Westfield, New Jersey. I remember going in there. There was not much organization. I saw this sitting in there, and I didn't have enough money on me at the time, or any money. I don't know. I just didn't buy it that day. So I said, oh, I'll come back for that like next week or something. I went back a little while later. I couldn't find it. And the guy's like, oh, I'll order you another one. I said, okay. I didn't give my number or nothing. Then I was back in Westfield again. And I stopped in there. All of a sudden, it had appeared again at the front of the row. And the guy's like, I thought you couldn't find it. I said, I don't know. It was back. He goes, somebody must have moved it around. Pretty strong, decent Mersey beat. And like most Edsel reissues, it has a cool insert with the story and photos and song reviews. Pretty cool there. I always like this stuff. That's why I hang on to it. Don't have this on CD. I think there is a CD. Oh, there's also an insert in here of other releases on Edsel and all their fine labels. Learned of a lot of stuff on here. The band featured... Somebody in here went on to other stuff. Who was it? Oh, Johnny Gustafson. How the hell do you say that? Gustafson. I believe he went on to episode 6, which was a great pop psych band with Ian Gillan and Roger Glover before Deep Purple. And then I think I can't say his name. Gustafson later went on to a prog band called Quartermass, who was known for a song called Black Sheep of the Family that Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow covered. Yeah, and I think, don't know of the other guys. Oh, but Gustafson was also played like with the Beatles when they were the Silver Beatles, kind of sometimes playing shows with them, being their vocalist, I think. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, their most well-known song is their cover of Some Other Guy, which was big on the Mersey beat scene. Anyway, the Big Three, Cavern Stomp on Edsel, prime Mersey beat, if you want to check out something else besides the Beatles, Pacemakers, whatever.
Okay, thank you so much for tuning in to this latest set of 20 records. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know. Comment below, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Looking forward to doing another set next week, hopefully. So again, really happy to share all this with you. Hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Hope it sparks you to pull out some records maybe you haven't listened to in a while, like we're doing. We're definitely listening to a lot of the things that we've reviewed or discussed again on this channel. So thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.